And for more now, let's bring in Roger McNamee, early Facebook investor and co-founder of Elevation Partners. Roger, thanks so much for being here.
Lindsay, it's a pleasure.
So you've been very critical of tech companies, Facebook in particular. What do you make of this executive order? I mean, the president likened Twitter's move to silencing or editing your phone calls. Do you think that that's fair to say?
No, it's complete and utter nonsense. And I can't believe the president really wants to do anything other than shift the attention away from the 100,000 people who have died of COVID-19. And the reason is because social media is the essence of his political strategy. I mean, he plays them like a Stradivarius. And, you know, I think what's really going on here is that he has very successfully created a distraction that the press and other policymakers and the public have moved to, so that we're not talking as much about how many people have died. And it's worked very, very well.
If you're going to fact check his tweets, then why not so many others that could also contain false or misleading information? I mean, who here is right?
Well, and the problem with this is that the implication is that if you do not fact check a tweet, then that one must be true. And in this particular context, there are falsehoods in so much of what you see on social media. I mean, the real issue here, and I think the Mark Zuckerberg piece of this is really important, because Mark is taking a position that's different from Twitter. He's basically saying we're going to be completely hands-off, which isn't actually true, but that's what he's saying. And at the end of the day, Lindsay, the problem that we have as citizens is that social media is designed to grab our attention. And the way it does that is it shares the content most likely to provoke our emotions. That turns out to be hate speech, disinformation, and conspiracy theories. So those things get promoted by the algorithms, they get amplified, and in the process, they essentially drown out the facts. And what's really wrong at Facebook, and the thing that I think we should be focused on today, is that we have somehow converted a pandemic, which is a national health disaster, into an element of the culture war. This does not help anybody. People are dying because of this, and social media is essentially the way that this has happened. And frankly, I think Mark Zuckerberg has a lot of explaining to do, and neither of the people who interviewed him asked that question. I think that was a big failure.
And you've called for more regulation for social media companies like Twitter and Facebook. Why do they need this regulation, and what would that look like?
So, Lindsay, here's the issue that I would point to. In 1960, we began regulating chemical companies, which at that time were like internet companies. They were the fastest growing, most profitable companies in the economy. But they were spewing toxic fumes into the atmosphere where people lived. They were pouring mercury into fresh water and dumping toxic chemicals everywhere and not paying the cost. And what we have with social media is that they undermine democracy by basically making it impossible to have a good debate. They amplify the most negative signals, so minorities have a disproportionate voice. And then relative to public health, they've essentially caused the response to a pandemic to be political, so that people aren't wearing masks because they view it as somehow in conflict with their political beliefs, which is unbelievably dangerous. And none of that would be true without internet platforms. And here's the point. I agree with Mark Zuckerberg. We do not want internet platforms deciding what are facts and what are not. But we also don't want them with a business model that amplifies hate speech, disinformation, conspiracy theories. So the problem isn't that the president lies or there's false information about COVID. It's that that kind of content on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter gets amplified such that it drowns out the facts. And that undermines our society. And tech is too important to let it go forward doing so much harm. So like the chemical industry in 1960, like the pharmaceutical industry in 1906, or the building trades after the Great Fires, we need to recognize the importance of the industry and use regulation to make sure it serves the interests of the country.
All right, Roger McNamee, really a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
It was a great pleasure, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.